Hey, CJ. Good to see you. How's things going on your side?
Good. I have spent most of my day going through the portfolio case study canvas, and it's really interesting just like watching the video over and over again, doing like a first round, a second round, a third round, and saying, okay, I'm starting to understand how to do this a little quicker now.
It's like every time you do it, it kind of, I think the previous time you've done it, it forms and kind of changes the way you think about it again. It's an interesting process. It's also interesting that you're doing it kind of repeatedly. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I think I was getting sort of in my head a lot about doing the onboarding stuff. So it just helped to sort of step back and think about, well, how do I frame the story for other projects? So, there's 3 other projects that I have, and it's just been really interesting to think about, okay, these are, I think like when I've been focusing on onboarding, I've been focusing a bit too much on like, the details of the slide. Is this like the right position for the image and stuff? And not like, what is the overall story and is that doing the job?
Hey, what's the content?
Yeah.
It's there's always a saying that I always kind of like. It's always, they always say like content is king. And it's like, I know people say it, but you never really actually understanding what that means takes a while in terms of going through content and realizing what it means. Yeah. Tawfik, welcome. Good to see you, man. Mute's in the top left if that's what you're looking for.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ben. How are you? How's everybody doing? She knows you.
Yay. A wave. I don't know if you can see me waving, but
she can't see it. It's just excellent. Blurred. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Adorable as hell. Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. So we'll give it a few minutes. We'll give it another minute. These are our experimental sessions, as I've mentioned. So a small, tight-knit group of people would be nice. I kind of prefer that. Oh, hello. Yeah. Tucker, can you hear us? Just want to check you can. Mute's in the top left if you're looking for it. Cool. Maybe Tucker's connection's a little rough. That's all good. I can hear you, but you're in a noisy place. No problem at all. No problem there. Now, today's session is going to use music at different points. So I'm going to load up something nice. Maybe something nice. Go with this. Cool. Okay, so I'd like to hear from you guys. So the point of this session, there's kind of two points to it. One is I'm kind of pretty much working through my resume live on call. Last time we did a little bit of exploration, but didn't get to actually nail down all the points for the different roles that I was working on. But at the same time, you also can work on things while we're doing it because we'll work on a Pomodoro basis timer. So I just wanted to see who is working on something at the same time and who's not. If you're not, that's okay. Yeah. Tawfik, CJ, or Tucker, are you guys wanting to work on something during this session as well, or what's your expectation?
This is on the capability deck you're speaking about?
This one is not the capabilities deck. This one is the resume session.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to work on your capabilities deck during this session, you can.
Resume. I'll pass.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. CJ, what about you? Are you just kind of here to listen? Do you have questions? Just before I do dive into things, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, pretty much just here to listen. I feel like this is another thing where I've gotten so into doing the thing that it's good for me to just kind of step back and see, how other people tackle it. So yeah, I'll probably be taking notes, and then sometime tomorrow just see how I can improve mine.
Awesome. And Tucker on chat would love to hear what your expectations are as well. Feel free to just chuck it in there if you're going to work on something at the same time, or if you're just kind of here to observe and listen. Paulina, good to see you. And Anna, good to see you guys. We're just going over briefly what people's expectations if you're here to listen, or if you're also going to work on something, maybe your resume or something else on the side as well. So we'd love to hear, Paulina and Anna, what you guys think. Unless I'm pulling you in all of a sudden. Oh, don't think I can hear you, Paulina.
Oh,
there we go.
so
Okay.
I unfortunately I have missed the meeting one for the resume, but I will try to work today.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So last session, just as a recap, we went over kind of the resume because I was going to start completely from scratch. The goal was to ignore the education part, pretty much ignore everything but the experience part, and focusing on crafting high quality outcomes for the top 3 roles that I've got. That was kind of the focus of the last session, and we explored it a little bit. We didn't quite get it down pat, but that's kind of what this session is today. So what we're going to do is there's going to be Pomodoro timers. We're going to go 25 minutes, quick 5-minute break, then a 15 minutes, and then round off. And if people are working on anything, then we will share and get some feedback at the same time. If you're just listening, then we'll also have question points. So if you want to ask something, if you're not sure, if this format doesn't work for you, then we'll also kind of check in and reconfigure based on that as well. Cool. Okay. Anna says, I think I'm here to watch and catch up a bit. Awesome. Okay. Well, in that case, let's kind of kick off. Now, I got to have music on or else everything gets boring. And the music playlist for today is a playlist called Koa Lounging. Now, Koa Lounging was a playlist a guy gave me at a random bar that I've frequently visited in Portugal during my European trip. So I really dig their music. It was underneath my Airbnb, and I was like, hey, can I have your playlist? And he's like, it's super secret, but yeah. So that's kind of become a strange music playlist of my life recently. But I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see all the things that we're doing. Now, last session, there's a few things we kind of tested out, and I'll do a recap of those. So we tested very briefly out the platform Teal just as an experiment. Now, Teal is a kind of a resume builder thing. There's a plugin for it, and in Teal, you can pretty much go through, let's see, where is it? If we go to resume builder, just so we can recap. We played around with this a bit just to kind of see what it would be like. It did a okay-ish job. So, for example, it pulled from our LinkedIn, it pulled out our main roles here, it pulled out all my past kind of design roles, and we could work individually on each outcome statement here, which is okay. It also allows you to use AI. It's okay, but not something we're going to mainly use today because we're kind of more down for doing it old-fashioned manual style. This is not bad. If I was to continue doing this, I would just spend most of the time trying to workshop each of kind of the dot points going on here. Now, the goal at the moment, and I'm just going to steal all the text from this auto-generated one so I don't have to copy and paste. Oh, maybe I can't. Okay, there we go. Because I don't think I've got all that. So the goal is, out of all my personal experience, let's go back to my kind of resume section-y. We were drafting it on Notion. So if I go back to my personal portfolio, and we're going to do it under, always forget where I put this. I need to clean my stuff up. Let's go. I think I did it in Resume Lab. Let's take a look. Yes, I did. Ooh, good thing. So we're going to use this as our basis just for the content. And then once we have the content right, once content is king, so to speak, we will translate it into a more proper resume format. And I've got some ideas for that. So I'm going to just paste all that content and just integrate it together. And can everyone still see my screen? Yep, cool.
Can see.
Okay, now the role that I'm after, I also struggled with figuring out kind of what role I'm doing. And so if I'm gonna create a new section here just to kind of keep it top of mind what my resume or job positioning is. Portfolio positioning, maybe that's what it should be. Now I'm going to keep this really loose. For me, it's kind of more centered around 3 kind of core areas. It's management kind of and senior level roles. It's also focused around design, operations, team management. These are just the real core skills that I'm more focusing around on my emphasis. I'm not going super specific, but if we do go specific, then we're also going to maybe target some facilitation-based roles primarily. This is mainly for me. But if we go a bit crazy and we want to go completely left field out of design, then we will probably go to community management and kind of COO, CDO, that sort of level roles. Maybe there's a nice startup that will let me run all their stuff. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, I'm not going to go more specific than that for now, just because I want to have it broad enough where I can kind of develop my general content and then niche down from there. Because if I look at my personal plans for the future, Ben's personal plans, why not? We're launching my own company next year, which is going to be an interesting journey. It's called Hunt and Gather, and it's a facilitation and hiring company, I guess, technically. That's probably it. These are kind of just a little bit of a guiding light for later on. We're going to leave the I am a designer living in this place. We're going to leave all that to last, leave the executive summary, but we're going to focus on experience for now. Now, let's make sure we've got a timer on, or else this could just go for ages. So let me just cue our timer. I'm going to have to stop sharing briefly, and then we'll hyper focus now onto the experience points. Any questions while I do that? So is talking through this useful for you guys? I don't know if this is.
It is.
Cool. My goal is to try and talk out loud as physically much so there's no hidden inner workings happening in here. Ooh, did I break butter briefly again? You guys can see my screen, right?
Yep, we can.
Yep, cool, perfect. Okay, now there's some disparities in my own work. So let's just get all my roles out there, which are kind of out there from copying and pasting, which is useful. Let's see what we've got. Am I missing anything? There's a few. So if I was to add all the roles, not all of them, because there's quite a few, but the ones that I think are probably going to fit on my resume, once you reach over like 5 roles, you're really starting to probably put a bit much in there. And if I'm going to add some extras, but we're not going to do them all today, just so they're there. Let's jump back to my LinkedIn. So something we're going to do is once we've refined these points, any of these points that we've done for the resume, the kind of dot points underneath each role, because I like dot points, we're also going to add them into the LinkedIn to be exactly the same as well. So that's going to be just a step. So let's see, what would be some extra stuff that might complement well? I'm going to add a section for kind of extras that we may or may not include, just so we can see the full breadth. Now, I did some volunteering as part of my local TEDx crew. I am a communications advisor for my friend's company. They call me once a year, but they still like to put me on there. My work with this is doing. Let's take a look at that. Also what I'm also looking for right now is I want to make sure that what I've got on my LinkedIn and in my resume is in sync, and do I need to update them? I don't want the roles to be different because that's not a good sign. If someone goes onto my resume and they go onto my LinkedIn and the roles are different, that's a little bit of a red flag for some people. Okay, exec designer. Let me go back. Thank you. Okay, we're probably getting a bit much into the background. We could keep going. If I'm mainly applying for design roles and I want to make sure they really see I've got some history in design, then I might put this really old role back in 2018 as a visual designer just to show there was some kind of grassroots roles there. My latest few roles is great, and if I wanted to really just show some longitudinal experience, then this one would probably be good. This is like a 5-month casual contract. If I wanted to focus more around community management, then I'd definitely include my 2019 role for that. If I wanted to show just a generalized bit more diversity, then I'd include some of these other roles here. But we're going to probably keep it to we won't do any roles that have trainee in it. I'm really aiming for managerial and above roles. So we're going to maybe bring the visual designer role in as well, just for posterity's sake for now. But we'll probably end up removing it just because we're getting a lot of roles here. But we'll add it here just in case, and then we can revisit that later. Okay, cool. Okay, let's focus on the top ones. Now, obviously, I've gone back at some point and put some notes in here. So we're going to use what we've got for that. Okay, we've got really poorly written notes. That's completely okay. We can work with that. But I did something for this is doing, so awesome. I'm going to steal that and shortcut this work a little bit. Focus on the top. Now I'm going to move case study club. If we're assuming I'm applying for design roles, then case study club's kind of going to be a secondary role here. It might even be third. Like if I'm mainly applying for design roles, then I might want my senior designer role right up front, followed by probably this executive designer role, which sounds really nice. And then I might do some extra stuff here. Maybe I'll bring my Department of Education Skills and Employment role up and put case study club, and this is doing underneath those roles, just so then it goes senior designer, executive designer, service designer, and then there's these 2 extra roles, so they're more of supporting roles. So I might not keep this in chronological order, just to kind of drive the perception that I want people to have of my experience, so they can see what I want them to see up front. Let's use that as a basis. Personally, I really like having my non-design work up front, and it does make me feel a little like I don't want to be doing all of this just forever. So I'm going to probably actually make the conscious choice to put my case study club role afterwards, even though that might actually be a detriment depending on the role I'm applying for. But again, I can always shift these around. Okay, so if I duck back to the case study canvas, I did that for the CASA role. And when I say CASA, that's my current role, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, senior designer there. And we're doing a lot of stuff around design system. Now, I've already got some stuff there, but let's go in and take a look. We've got some outcome metrics here. I drafted some really rough ones while I was doing the case study canvas for this. I've put the amount of components completed, the amount of services we've delivered in my role, daily usage of Figma by designers, and if possible, some quotes from developers or designers would be really nice. Now, quotes, that's a portfolio thing. That's not going to fit in the resume in any way, shape, or form. X new services is quite broad, so that would fit pretty well. And the 30 plus components isn't too bad either. It's a bit too specific, but if it's the only metric we've got, then it still tells a little bit of a story there. I think I saw someone do something in the chat. Let me just check. Nope. Cool. And I did not put on our timer. I'll do that now. 1 sec. Oh, no, I did put on the timer. Never mind. I am just crazy. let's get back to it. So we're actually doing stuff. Okay. Cool. Now, I must say I am slightly cheating a little that I did. These are the things we did last time. So the goal here for the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, CASA, the Case Study Club, Think Place, and my This Is Doing roles, we're not going to go any beyond that. The more metrics we have in all of this, the better. So we're looking just to build this up with some metrics. We don't really care if it's super detailed or we have everything defined. We just need numbers somewhere and outcomes displayed. Now, in the portfolio operating system, we have a section on this around the XYZ formula. So we normally say to highlight your accomplishments, normally saying something like you accomplished this, you measured it by this, and you did this, and that's kind of what it did. So we're looking for strength of roles, and we're also looking at trying to highlight outcomes that would be most relevant for getting a management and senior level role. Now, at that level, we're looking at any kind of outcomes are going to be great for senior and management roles, but we're also looking for mentions of kind of what team did you run? What kind of leadership stuff did you do? So that's kind of missing from this right now. So we can see I've defined design system stuff. I've kind of just defined training a number of designers on this, which is close, but it's still not directly what did you manage. So we're going to just add one there. So we're going to go managed team of 1, 2, 3. I think we're going to say 3 designers. 3 designers. Yep. We also took charge in a way of the backlog and kind of all the UX work. So we're going to see, can we say that in a way that works? We want a rough draft of this dot point. We're not focusing on it being perfect, because we're actually going to probably use a little bit of a chat GPT to just experiment with some wording here. But as long as we got something, that's better than nothing. I think some of this is chat GPT generated, actually. Orchestrated the development of a robust 40-component design system underpinning 5 new key services. That sounds like a GPT thing. This strategic initiative not only enhance products, but also streamline UX, blah, 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 blah. I don't like that. We're getting rid of that. Shorter is sweeter. It kind of is a sentence that says something, but then says nothing at the same time. But it says that it enhanced scalability and streamlined things and contributed to agility and innovation. That's too buzzwordy for me, so that's going. This one's pretty good. This is more in line with our XYZ. It's, built design system, trained some designers, collaborated with developers. We do say streamlining design consistency and cross-functional efficiency, which it's the more specific we are, the better. Every time I say this, specificity is key because it shows confidence, but it also it's hard to refute something if you're really specific. It's like, of course, that's real. They're very specific. So that's what we're aiming for here. So manage a team of designers. What else did we do? We're going to keep this really rough, including like the word performance management. We're going to do it. Mentorship and coaching. There we go. Nice and easy. That's good enough. We're going to leave it there. We're specific. We've said 3 designers. We've been a bit more specific. We've said we've managed them, mentorship and coaching. I also want to include kind of, we managed the work. We had a backlog. We've gone through different iterations of the backlog, so I want to include that. Established, keep this really loose, team, established and evolved team backlog and ways of working. There we go. I'm going to put some brackets and add some words that I think should be in this but aren't in this, and we can remove or include it later on. So I think that what's missing here is mention around design, at prioritizing work, and what else would be missing from this? I think mostly just those, and maybe kind of we are doing more meetings with all of our developer areas, so we have established like rituals for maintaining design debt and for handing off work to people. So rituals / design debt / collaboration. So I think that would benefit, but we've got 3 core metric-driven ones. We've covered management to a degree. We've covered the main piece of the big rock highlight work for this, which is the design system. And we've kind of, I guess, mentioned the design system more. But what might be missing from this is new services prototyped with the design system. That would be a key one. You know, we've built a design system, then we've used it to build a ton of stuff. So if we can get some metrics around this, that would be good. Now, now I'm a little lucky because I'm still in this role. So what it means is I can actually go back and be like, how much services have we developed? Maybe we've developed 20 wireframes using the new design system or something like that. So I need to get metrics on this, and those metrics could be wireframes made, services developed this year. I'm sure the design system's been around for almost a year and a half since we made it. So if I can build things for this year, that would be great. And I think that'll round off CASA. We're spending a little time on this just because it's the latest role. And normally our latest role is where sometimes we find it easiest to gather outcomes and metrics if we can. Okay, what else we got? I think these latest 2 roles are going to be the easiest for me personally for metrics, because all my roles beforehand were really hard to gather metrics, and I had no focus on metric gathering really. But the latest 2 ones, I've stuck with them long enough that there's been some there. If I didn't have metrics, then I would try and be as specific in my wording as possible on what I did, even if there's no metrics, because specificity, got it, breeds trust, and it breeds confidence in kind of what you've done. The more specific, the more real it feels. It's how I deleted that sentence that sounded really flowery. Okay, case study club. Combined participants is a nice metric to say. It kind of means something, but it doesn't at the exact same time. So, you know, we've run events. If I tallied all the people up for our events together, then I could give that an overall metric, and it does kind of say the amount of people I've worked with over the time here. 600 was just a number I pulled. But I do know some of our webinars have had 200 people. So I'm going to average that. Okay, 200 plus. We've run events with at least 20 to 30 people in it. I think 600 is an okay number to do, but to make it a bit more easier, it's going to say more than 600 combined participants. I think that's okay to say. I think it's rough. I can break down all the events probably. That would be a bit of work, but we could do it. Portfolio OS would be a product that I've launched a product. That's cool. Weird to still think about, but let's go with that. So portfolio operating system, I'm just going to do commas and words instead of trying to do on neat sentences above. How long we got left? I don't see a timer. Oh, 9 minutes. Okay. I want to have the top 3 done. And then we're just going to leave what's in this as doing, because I kind of already did that ages ago. Good job, past Ben. And then we might try doing some visual design as well. Okay. Because we want to draft by the end of this session if we can. Sales, let's see, I think somewhere around 150 to 200. If I was doing a case study on this, I would need some qualitative metrics. That would be cool. All right, I've also run the community. I should add that. That's pretty important. Pro community. Let's see, roughly 30 members a session, 4 intakes a year. I think we've totaled at any one time, roughly 150 designers have been part of the community, not active, but part. So we're looking for metrics that give a big picture here. And if they want a more accurate portrayal or a more accurate breakdown, then that's an in-interview thing rather than here. We're just like, here's kind of the big picture of what we're working with. So roughly 150 designers in the community. How many workshops have we run for it? 1 a week, sometimes 2 a week for a year and a half. Let's go 60-ish. Mentorship. This is where ADP list is actually really useful. So I'm going to steal their numbers. That's going to make this way more useful for me. So we just routed everything through ADP list, and that's actually really useful for me from a metrics perspective. So by the end of next week, I think I'll have done like 50 bookings and 1,500, almost 1,600 minutes. So let's steal that. And coaching. Say over 1,500 minutes. That is in hours. I have to use math. 1,560 divided by. That's not how math works. Also not how math works. Okay, about 26 hours. So I want to do, I could keep it at minutes. Minutes does work, though it's a little bit of a small metric here. So it kind of, I would rather put percentages or numbers if I can, because they're kind of showing movement and shift. If I have really cool metrics like 5 million or something like that, or if it's a metric that is considered by default pretty decent, like 4% conversion increase, that's generally considered a pretty good number in the realm of like metrics. So minutes is kind of a bit too much here. So I'm going to just go, but then again, if I convert it to hours, what are we looking at? 26 hours. That's okay. We'll use hours, like days or weeks total. That would be really cool. And I think we've gone over 50 sessions. I'm just going to say over 50 members. Yeah, that's good enough for Case Study Club. Ideally, would also put a money metric here. I really should get one. We probably could. I think we do have a number somewhere around like increase total revenue growth by, let's go like 40. There's probably numbers I could grab here. I'm going to add them just because we can by maybe, I'm going to say 30%. That would be nice. And reduced maybe churn by, since this is a community management position, churn is a really key thing. So if I could get the churn metrics, which I think we actually might have buried somewhere, then I can do that. Now, as I mentioned, many designers don't have metrics like this. And the only reason I do is because the past year and a half I've been obsessed with metrics. But for all these other roles, we don't really have any. I think the only metric I've got here is over 200 attendees for a festival I ran. So my Think Place work especially, no metrics at all, pretty terrible work as well. But we're going to need to talk it up somehow. So this is going to be our last one, I think. And then we might try and build it based off these first few roles. Okay, so Think Place, this is a really rough one. Didn't enjoy the work here, did not like it in any way, shape, or form. I ended up resigning, but we can at least pull something out of it. So we did usability testing. That's probably the only main piece of work I did for I want to be specific. So if I can be specific about it, biosecurity portal for a government client. If I can be more specific and say, okay, maybe we tested across 12, I don't know if it was actually 12, I got to double check the report, 12 interviews, but I want to just have the template here for metrics. Oh yeah, that's going to have to be good enough. It is specific. It says we did usability testing, we did it for this client, and this is how many people kind of we did. The other piece of work was probably proposal writing. We're almost out of time. How do you do something like this? I would say be specific. I can't do metrics. I've got to be as specific as I can. So proposal writing for $500,000 yes, for tender. I think there was one I very vaguely supported on. So in theory, I did support something that was like 500K, which is a weird amount of money to get used to. Okay, we're more specific. That's good. What else can we do here? I do remember some of them. So let's just say some of them were for a data transformation project. We're being specific. We also did one for a aquarium. That was the funnest thing I've ever written. Aquarium community engagement piece. And lastly, let's do one more. Really pulling from memory here. I think there was one around math education for upskilling math education across Australia. Cool. I think that's going to be good enough. These sentences need work, and what we might do, we might even do some chat GPTing. But we know that all we need to do is change the sentences. Overall, we've got our structure. We know what roles are going to happen. We know kind of what the order is going to be. So I think we're pretty good with that. Okay, that's going to be good enough. Oh, we had some stuff from LinkedIn, I think it was. Oh, look, I already did some stuff apparently. We might have to consolidate that in later. Okay, I think we are time. No, oh, we still have a minute 40. Okay. Let's do education and certifications. This is going to be really easy. I don't really like doing skills in resumes if I can avoid it, just because I don't really know what they say half the time. But if I follow the principle of the man from the Dilbert comic, which says your skill stacks are kind of what make you unique. If I had to say what my top things or focus is going to be, then we would put something like much my main roles really, which is design, coaching, and mentorship. I'm also just going to put design management, design operations, got the word design and everything, growth design, geez. Community management, and there's also a degree of like, already got operations on there. That's not how you spell it. Already got all my kind of degrees and stuff laid out on my LinkedIn, so I think we're good there. But let's bring them in while we're at it, since we got 30 seconds. Oh, I feel the rush. LinkedIn is useful. It keeps me. Just give me. Okay, fine. I actually think I'm missing stuff from this. Hang on. Oh, there's stuff that's actually not in here. That's interesting. But oh, we do have some certifications. This Scrum one would be good to showcase. So let's make sure Scrum and tools. Okay, we're out of time. That's fine. Science, and there's probably some certifications in here we'd want to include just to finish this out. Yeah, oh, they're not in here. Oh, there we go. It's under licenses and certifications. I want this is doing executive school on, because that's kind of really closely aligned with our whole executive and management and all of that concept. So that really hits the kind of target here. So I'm going to add that in. Anything else? The UX management specialty, that really hits the role we're after. If I can copy and paste this, Jesus. Okay, no, I can't. We'll chuck it over in Notion as well. Now we'll stop just for some questions. Then we might try and maybe we'll start on the visuals. We'll see what people think. Cool, we've got at least 4 qualifications there. I can even add one more if I wanted to, but I don't really like the qualification in any way, shape, or form. It's the graduate certificate in government informatics, which just means nothing. So I might avoid putting that on there if I can. What else we got? I think we might be good. Yeah, I think we're good. If we were focusing on more entrepreneurship, I might instead add things like this alumni role, which was around like supporting startups. If I might even choose a different role. Ooh, is it on here? I don't see it on here. swear I maintain my LinkedIn. No, here we go. Entry 29. That's a community manager role I did ages ago. That was running a co-working space for entrepreneurship. So that would vibe really well with that kind of role. So I would pick and choose them if I've got a better role. Okay, let's check in. How was that? I was kind of just speaking through it, trying to get things going. Was that useful for anyone? It's okay. I'll keep silent.
It was helpful to like see your thought process on how to articulate the different metrics, like the different needs for different or like what the different projects that you did, and like how there was one that like didn't have concrete metrics but you were still able to articulate it, and then also just like the project that did have metrics, which ones you chose. And I thought that was really helpful.
So there's a lot of different metrics I could go, and it's like this push and pull of, okay, what's a good metric that represents kind of the stuff that I want to do later on, or at least represents like this big piece of work where, you know, I could pull out, probably try and come up with so many different kinds of metrics, but what's one that will just be good enough. Anna says, if you had a project that was for a client, but the work was done through a design studio for a company role, do you mention the studio name or who the client worked under for a company? Great question, Anna. And you would have seen my Think Place role if I wanted to, and if I had done more projects with them. Instead, I could have just put them down as a client role instead of as my role at Think Place. I've seen both ways. For me, just putting Think Place as my consultant role and not detailing the projects works just because of all the other, both because of the role I'm aiming for and because of all the other experience I have around it. If I instead was moving into consulting, moving into freelance, or had some really great projects as working part of an agency, then you could definitely just put kind of the client name, and each project itself would be a role. You can definitely do that. So both work, and it does depend on, do you have a ton of different projects that were really cool? Have you been mainly with one agency for a while? Yeah.
Yeah, because the context there for me is the studio that I work with is like a really small studio, but they do like really big, cool projects for like Hulu and HBO. And like the thing is like those names would obviously be more, and the artifact itself is like a video. So it's like, oh, where do I actually look at or watch this, you know, artifact, which this project is like, oh, I'll just like see it on HBO. And so like that feels more useful than saying the studio name, but I wasn't sure if that would be like,
I mean, you got a name drop there. HBO is always good. If you can drop names, that's always nice. It's like, oh, I recognize that.
Right. Yeah. So I just wasn't sure if that was like would be clear enough. And then if I would then somewhere else mention the studio name that I did it with.
Yeah, you could definitely put like client name and then underneath your like the studio name and the role, but you could also just not mention the studio name if you wanted to. The goal of the resume is to highlight some of your most important parts of your experience, not necessarily the exact layout or roles that you've won. We do use role names, but it's more like, okay, what's the experience you want to highlight mainly? That's kind of the first thoughts.
That's helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Great.
Torfik, throw in the names, throw the names in, plus worked with clients. I think I get what you're saying there. Paulina, how's this been for you? Has this been useful? Do you have any questions?
At this point, no. I think I don't have any. I'm just thinking, how can I combine it into my portfolio, which is, I mean, resume, which is not as packed with elements. So
I can show you guys an old resume if you really want. I was trying to find my oldest resume. I think I've lost them, but I swear they're probably somewhere if I dug deep enough. But you'd find some really bad ones. I've had many, many resumes. It might be useful. Maybe I should show you guys like the OG, the original resumes. Would that be useful? Maybe, kind of. What's your struggle there, Paulina, in terms of your resume? So it's I've definitely got a lot of roles on there, and that's mainly because of working 2 jobs at once for like 2.5 years. It's kind of a cheat, but doesn't work very well depending on your mental health. So what's the struggle there from you in terms of you're thinking about how to translate that?
Well, in UX, I'm still having my first and only position that I acquired like 2.5 years ago. So I have several projects in which I worked, but I am not able yet to mention more roles than just one that I have. So I wonder, how should I do it? Should I name all the projects? In some of them, I am not allowed to throw the name of the client. So this is also a kind. In terms of being specific, this is a problem. So
on that note, with the specificity, I'm going to get that one day without a struggle. You'll notice for one of the client projects, I didn't mention the client technically. And that for the exact same reason. It's like, how can I be specific that gives you a sense that this is a thing without actually mentioning any sensitive information? And so I might have just said government client or national park if I was working for a national park, but I haven't said who the national park is. I might say biosecurity portals, quite specific. So I might maybe put this up to like logistic checking portal, something like that. It's looking, okay, what's a word that is technically specific, but not identifying? Yeah, so that's kind of with the NDA stuff. That's one thing you're looking for there. If you have a lot of past experience, which if I remember correctly, you have past roles that maybe weren't directly in design, that can be really useful and it can be very relevant. And so one challenge a lot of people who are transitioning or coming from a larger background is, how do I reframe my past work and my past projects to be relevant to design? And that's a struggle a lot of people, and there are ways to do it. And maybe you focus more on the leadership or the mentorship or the stakeholder management or the making and delivering of a product. Those are all still very relevant, especially when you get to mid and senior levels and above. Many people who are coming across or transitioning tend to go from mid and above levels, even if they've only just started in design, because they have that wealth of experience and they can kind of jump into that. Because at that level, it's outcomes and business strategy is kind of the differentiator, not really design in many ways. What do you think about that?
I am trying to get to follow that road. Actually, I was working in design, but it was a 3D design for real spaces, not the virtual
very relevant
spaces. So but the problem is I was always a kind of a freelance, so even if I worked in pair with a colleague, then it still wasn't team leading. But I am trying to mention like project management as well, because
very good. That it's finding where all these, because there's so much overlap with design, and if you did a lot of work in physical spaces, so much of that I firmly believe translates into design overall. I think there's lots and lots of overlap, and having that unique perspective, I would add some of that onto your resume 100%, because it gives you a unique background. We all come from a unique background. Like, I think the unique stuff on my resume is probably my Bachelor of Science degree, is probably one of them. And sometimes I want to add something that's not design, because I don't want to just look like I'm a wall of design. I think when I have like one or two others that are a little different, and I'll show an example in a sec, I think it adds a unique element, which is why my resume is always 2 pages, not 1, personally. Okay, so I think we have about 10 minutes left, so I think we could maybe do some fun visual design if people would like that. I have something in my head that I want my resume to be. It's really basic. It's kind of like a Word document, but not. So is there any areas you guys would like me to focus on? We could hyper-focus, keep going on content. I think we've kind of got the dot point things down. They just need refinement, maybe passing them through GBT, maybe thinking a bit more about other metrics that could be better than the existing ones. That's going to be just a kind of iterative test. But I want a prototype of my resume so I can go test it with real companies. And we might even do that on a call. I'm hoping potentially maybe if we get to the end of this, the capabilities deck, I can convince someone to let me live record or live bring people into a real interview. Don't know if they'll let me, but I want that. That'd be dope. So, but before I kind of want to share something with you guys, I want to share the earliest resume I found of myself. So this is my earliest hospitality bar job resume of the early, probably like you were looking like 2011, maybe 2010. And so this, my mobile is still the same technically. Probably not that late, actually. This was back when I was probably in university and doing a secondary kind of degree. I've got many comments on this, but hey, the white space is nice, actually. The font sizes now I'm now noticing are all different. This is a very different font size from this. I'm not critiquing this, but so we had my name. What else we got? We had I just noticed this. I like where I've got my aim for employment is to obtain a bar staff job, gain hands-on experience with the industry, learn and grow, and enjoy myself while I work. And then I seem to have put in brackets within reason. I don't know why.
That's awesome.
That kind of sounds funny. I did some diplomas and certificates from ages ago. Added no dates. We had skills, high capacity of tolerance and patience. We've got some grammar issues going on. I didn't have strong grammar. And then we had work history. Okay, yeah, this was like 2015 probably. You're looking 2015 by the look of these roles. I think I was a kitchen hand, retail assistants for the RSPCA, an animal attendant. The font sizes are different now. That's really that's getting to me. And then I had some partially completed qualifications. And then my references are Jeff and Joe, the two J's, from some old school places. I don't think any of these references actually worked. So that was my resume of, 10 years ago. So a decade ago. Ugh, that feels gross. Yeah, cool. I hope that maybe brings a bit of a laugh to some people. And the latest resume that I did used to use for getting, I think maybe my current role was this. I made it in Adobe InDesign. I was really kind of digging publishing. So there's my CASA role there. I think I updated this last year. The alignment's off on the right-hand side. That's going to annoy me. We had This Is Doing, and I think I did some work here. We had some case study club stuff back when I didn't really have much metrics to go off. So you can see instead I just said design and facilitated regular workshops, panels, and events to help designers set, learn, and achieve their personal and career goals. So specific about who, specific about what. We also did it under the manager and shepherd of the community. I like that, shepherd. That was a good one. I was specific on self-reflection, habit building, and career negotiation. Now, we have a single metric in this entire resume. That's it. We kind of filled it out with roles. So to substitute for the lack of metrics, we tried to be as specific as possible and as much role-based things as possible. I'm going to steal what I had for the Department of Education, and we're going to keep that. We had some skills, and I used skill bars here. And I specifically said relative skills, but now that I look at it, it doesn't really, it kind of tells you maybe I'll do a little bit more than this. I do a little bit more than this. And we had the certifications, tools, and education. And references on request. And a very, very brief description here. I didn't do custom descriptions at all. Cool. Okay, we've got a few minutes left, so I'm going to steal this, and we're going to see if we can do a real rough wireframe of the visual design. So what was this for? Go for it.
I had one question about the top, just like self-description.
Yes.
Or actually, like on the one that we're doing today, like the one that you're working on today. You might have talked about this like at the beginning of the call, but I might have missed it. Just like, maybe you didn't work on that one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
Haven't worked on it yet. Maybe we should
Oh, okay, yeah. I wasn't
do
sure
it.
if you listed or not.
Okay, let's do that. And I think thank you for pushing me on that, because I think I would have just resisted doing it and gone straight away into the pretty visual design, because it's annoying to do. That's
Talk
it.
about myself.
No, we're going to do it. We'll do it. And thank you for keeping me on track. This is good. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to try and tell you what, we're going to do something a little slightly sneaky. Can we do it here? I'm going to delegate my description to ChatGPT. Okay, I hate typing this, so we're going to try something a little strange very briefly, and then we just want some text to start with, because sometimes it's a barrier. So let's see, I'm connected via Bluetooth. I'm going to just pause this music, and we're going to talk to ChatGPT, and I'm going to tell it about myself. We're going to use these questions maybe if we can as job, but I'm going to do a bit of a GPT prompt first, just to give us something to work with. So I'm going to tell it my current roles. I want to be in a role that manages design, manages designers, works on cool products, and has ownership in my work. Now, there's for this description role, there's a lot of different things we can do. I'm going to keep the most basic one before we jump in GPT, but then maybe I'll show some alternatives. The more specific and the more custom this is, normally sometimes the better responses you get. So I am a senior designer. I want people to know that I'm a senior designer. That way their vision of me is of someone at that level. I feel like I'm missing something here. I'm a something designer living in. Okay, yeah, let's bring it back. Most basic, this would probably living in Canberra, Australia, working with startups, government, and design entrepreneurs. As one example, if I kept it really basic, that's going to be a super easy one. As specific, we say my role, so people can't put me in the level of a role. Maybe if I wanted to be a bit more specific, designer and coach. There we go. Sounds a bit nicer. It says kind of where I'm in. So Canberra, Australia. And I've said who I work with. I've kept it pretty broad: startups, government, and design entrepreneurs. Connects to my senior designer and coach kind of one. That's okay. It's passable, probably. What if we want to be more specific? We've got some things saying curate key points from below that suit the job description. Let's do that. It's painful, but let's do it anyway. Don't know why I'm so resistant to doing this. I think we're all a little resistant to doing our own thing. So let's go really big. Let's go a bit broad. We're going to go head of design. If we can get a head of design role, then let's assume we could probably get any of the other roles that we might want. Let's find something interesting. Oh, UNSW. That sounds interesting. That's our local university. I don't like banks, so I'm not going to go banking. Manager of arts and culture. Is that even design related? Probably not. This is just LinkedIn giving me stuff here. But let's see if we can find something a bit interesting. I've got one. That one's pretty interesting. Creative director of experience design. No idea what that does. Oh, they work on things like Superman, Alien, and Ghostbusters. Damn, that sounds cool. But not really going to do that. So let's look for more design manager roles as well instead. General manager for people and culture. That's a bit more fringe, but it sounds kind of interesting. So let's open that up and we'll do one more. Let's go for design manager roles. Maybe that's more closer to where we are now as well. Design manager, product design ops. If we can get a role in Canva, then probably that would be, or if we're decent enough for a Canva role, then chances are we're probably decent enough for other roles. And let's do one more. Let's keep it to 3. 3 is easy. Maybe this design lead will do. We don't want another Canva one. 3 is enough. Okay. So now we're limited on time, so we're going to shortcut this using our trusty GPT prompt. So, hey GPT, I like to say hello to it. I want to write an opening a description / mission statement about myself for my resume. I'm going to send you job roles and some of my resume experience. Write me a short and impactful. I'm just going to send it job roles. Job roles. Write me a short. These. My current role is a senior designer, and I love mentoring, guiding, running teams. Give us some magic. Okay, it has already gone crazy with it, but that's fine. That's not what we wanted, but okay, cool. It's already given us a brief description. Let's take it. We're going to workshop this. I'm going to send you roles I want to target now. I have to tell it, I'm going to send you the roles. Wait. Okay, there we go. It knows that I want to send the roles. Cool. Let's jump back over. We've got 3. Now, I really like the sound of this product design ops role. Like a lot. Ooh, maybe I should apply for this. Maybe we will. Okay, cool. When's this close? 6 days to go. Okay, I'll just remember that. I'm going to copy the whole thing. Here's the job role I want to target. Actually, I do want to target this job role. Let's target this job role. I want this one. Okay, this is getting like a long stick. This is okay. Make it really short and impactful. So this is kind of a push and pull approach using GPT. If people are into GPT, there's stuff in there I'm going to hate that it's going to do. Like I don't mind this. I don't mind this. Now what's missing? So if let's and this is going to be our one. Okay, we've got a few here. So we've got I'm a senior designer coach living in Canberra, Australia, working with startups, government, and design entrepreneurs. Nice and simple. It's not too specific but it's specific enough, but it's not too specific that it kind of makes you feel like maybe you don't fit in with this company. There's some things missing here. If I'm going to critique now what we've got, let's see, what are we missing? If we're targeting a design operations, where does that come into this? So I might need to ask myself, why do I like design ops here? Now, just quick check-in. It's useful. Now, I can't see anyone, so someone's going to have to come off mic. Yay, nay? Oop, I think I heard someone. I will call someone out specifically then. Anna, how is this? Is this kind of what you were thinking?
Yeah. I think I had just asked something about because we were talking about in our previous call about ChatGPT 3 versus 4, and I was just kind of watching what you were doing, and I couldn't remember if you could do this.
We're in 4. You can do this in 3.5, but let's create a second chat and see what it looks like in 3.
Okay.
I think that would be kind of cool. So let's grab this. Okay, if we were to do this in 4, it would probably still do a decent job. In 3, sorry. Senior role I want to target. Cool. I'm going to jump back over. We're going to feed it exactly the same content and see how it looks. Way faster for one thing. it's actually given us a different format. I kind of like it more almost. My mission is to contribute max within design operations. We could do a little bit of a different approach with this here. Is ask me why. Ask me some questions around design ops and management, then integrate my answers to a short mission statement. I'm going with mission statements because we can reduce it down. Oh, hey, did I break it? Error occurred either engine request and this regenerate. Okay, cool. That's fine. Okay, it's given me way too many questions, but I mean, what we could do is now I could take these questions and start answering them. Okay. Questions about yourself are always the hardest to answer. So here's my answers. Let's do one or two, and then I think maybe we'll round out. How long is this session going for? I think, are we over time? I think we might be. I think this was an hour and a half, if I remember correctly. Okay, what inspired you to into design ops and management within the field of product design? I have a background in agile and strategic design. Let's see, I like design ops and management because I really like building high-performing teams. That's a really catch-all way of saying it. I want to be as specific as I can, but we're going to struggle there. Management-wise, I also love coaching designers and people and helping them grow, create amazing things. Challenging design project you have managed and how I don't want to do that. If we had more time, yes, I'm going to use our time as an excuse not to answer that. How do you envision the role of your design ops evolving in the future, especially in the context of a company like Canva? This would be a great thing to answer. Let's go, but that's okay. Pain is the name of the game. Okay, well, I like Canva. So I like Canva, empowering small businesses to be creative and adapt to the online space is amazing and spurs greater entrepreneurship. Never spell entrepreneurship. Around the world, enabling people to do what they love. If I can ad-libbing this, I can make great design, help create amazing teams that create even more amazing products. And I can enable, a lot of the word enables here is happening a lot. Great businesses. Ideas. Okay. That was a little painful there. I'm not going to do all these. We'll maybe do one more. It's even asking me specific questions about what do I do to foster innovation and cultivation. Okay, let's do something really specific. Let's do mentoring and coaching. Okay, we're just going to keep it to 2. Answering all those would actually be really good, both for understanding how we want to target this role, but also maybe how I change the focus of myself into this more revised resume. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, it's going to give us some shitty wording pretty much. Give me a single 2 sentences about myself that focus on design ops and coaching. The more data we give it, the more specific we are about ourselves, the better it gets. Okay, let's take the latest development and we'll maybe see, we'll compare these side by side and we're just going to choose one and we're going to go with it. I don't like the I am a dedicated design ops professional though. I mean, if I was design ops focused, this really is a way of putting the flag in by saying I'm a design ops designer. Manager. I'm not actually, but we could do that. We could change it. Or shaping the future of design operations. In reality, it's like the future of growing great products. So okay, let's go with that. Done some really generic wording here. So, I mean, we could tell it to be more unique in your wording. If I fed it my resume, I could tell it to kind of use the words that I've come up with for my resume. It's been more unique, but I always like the word alchemy in anything, so that always makes me happy. But aficionado is not really what we're after. Okay, let's go design manager because we want to be broader. And we want to mention, so the whole part of design ops is building platforms and operations for running great teams. I'm not going to mention specifically design operations, but I'm going to mention all the skills and focus that design ops leads towards. So I'm actually going to keep this one, dedicated design manager with a passion for coaching and nurturing talent, fostering high-performing teams while shaping the future. Something better here would be good. Launching groundbreaking products. I like that. Now, personally, I kind of prefer this first one. It's just really short and simple, but we're going to go with this. Shaping groundbreaking products. Cool. We've gone a little strong here. Ideally, if you can get your statement to be a little edgy, where some people might not like your statement, that can be a good sign, taking a bit of a stance in your statement. But that can be really hard to do. So if I was playing it safe, I would probably go with the top one here. I'm a senior designer and coach living in Canberra, working with these 3 people. That's a pretty decent way of doing it. But if I want to maybe push it a little, I might go with this design manager one. But let's go with this one. Okay, let's take all of our content that we no longer need. We're going to stick with this. And I'm going to chuck it all the way at the bottom as. Okay. We have a statement. I'm not super happy with it, but it's going to have to be good enough. If we were to spend more time on this, we would spend more time kind of really honing down a value proposition. And ideally, we would go and pitch this to someone and be like, here's the kind of person I'm thinking of representing of myself. What do you think? Does this make sense? Is it empowering to you? What do you think I do after reading this one statement? What do you think I'm about? If I applied for this job, would you expect that? I might even try and find some other design operations roles and use this as a way of testing. Now, the unfortunate part is when we do build things like this, the only way we're going to know is by experimenting with it, which means there might be some roles that we really love that maybe we will miss by applying. But the only way we're going to know if this works is by actually applying with it. Maybe we'll actually apply for one next time. Okay. We have our experience. We have some extra experience if we want to add on, but this is all going to be some optional extras for us. Let's just assume these are the top 4 roles. I think they're actually getting pretty long, so they might be kind of good enough. If I was to add one more, then this Department of Education, Skills and Employment one would be my preferred one. If we jump back to my old resume, the reason for that is I led some really interesting projects. I led a data visualization one. I did some service design, current state mapping, which feeds into my other roles. And we did some kind of wireframing. So let's just steal all past Ben's work on that as well. Okay. This is more than enough content. We've got metrics. It's probably almost too much at this point. Really, if you put any more, people are just going to be like, cool, we get it. You have done stuff. We'll interview you, probably, hopefully. If I didn't get interviews, what would I look for here? I would think that maybe I'm missing key roles. Maybe one of these dot points is missing something, and I'd go and take a look at the job descriptions and say, okay, am I meeting most of these, like 80% of these, 60 to 80% using my resume? If so, then maybe I'm applying for the wrong types of roles. Maybe I've got too many roles in here. Maybe my roles are too government focused. If you look at it, it's kind of government. Oh, it's only 2 government. That's not too bad. I've been trying to get out of government, so I'm glad it feels less governmenty. We have a draft now. What's missing is the visual design. The visual design for me, I want to keep it super simple. You saw my last one. I don't want the black. I want it really easy, kind of looking like a Word document with amazing spacing And if preferable, I would love to have icons of my roles next to them that have a little splash of color. That's just me. I want basic, but that's kind of where we're at. Questions? Anything you're curious about? Now, that first part, the kind of description about yourself, it's really hard. I've gone through so many different descriptions. There's a different description on my LinkedIn. There's a different description on my resume. There's a different one in the past 3 resumes. And if you ask me about myself, I'm probably going to give you another description too. It's a real fine line from a branding perspective. Recently, I think I might change it all completely in January. I think I mentioned I'm launching my own independent consulting company called Hunt and Gather, which kind of represents the 2 things I like doing: hunting great people and developing great people, and gathering people together, facilitation. Sadly, turns out Hunt and Gather is a very popular name. It's simple and easy, so it's quite a lot of people have that name. So I might recenter my branding around that, around the main things also I do. Hunter and gatherer of people was something I was playing with in my head. Kind of like that, but also don't at the same time. Yeah. Sometimes you got to be like, that's good enough. We're sticking with that and we'll change it later on. Okay. Let's do a check-in. I'm going to call some people out. I like calling people out. CJ, how's this been for you? Did you know I'd come for you? Probably.
Yeah, it's been really good. Just seeing your thinking process using ChatGPT and everything.
And if I have more time, I definitely would just do a lot of back and forth, and then I'd get really frustrated and then go for a walk and then come back and be like, okay, delete everything. I don't think we need to delete everything. I think the work I've done over the past few years have actually helped make these dot points quite a bit. Probably my work in Case Study Club too. I remember going through a lot of these and it being such a big struggle, especially you saw my earlier version of the resume. There's no metrics in there. It's just descriptions. But they are specific, which I think is what really got there. And I'd say the last 3 roles in my LinkedIn, all the way down at the bottom, the communications advisor roles, there's a communication strategist there, there's a visual designer. Pretty much none of them are paid. The visual designer one was, but that was like a 1 day a week for 3 months paid role. So when I first got into this realm and I first got into business and design, I had no experience. So I ended up doing a lot of hackathons, a lot of projects just to kind of bulk that first part up, which won that first part-time casual role. And then it kind of started to compound from there. Then it was, okay, cool. That all won a better role and then replaced all of those. So my resume's probably gone through like 4 iterations at this point. Probably, okay, more than 4, probably 6 iterations. Every single role, sometimes a completely different resume. Yeah. Paulina, how's things feeling on your side?
Fine, thanks. It was helpful.
I just wanted to say my biggest recommendation for people is aim for a shitty first draft. Like this is, I don't know what you guys think of this resume, but I think it's an okay draft. There's things not complete. So if I wanted feedback on this, what I would do would formulate, okay, I'm aiming for this design operations role, and the get feedback channel in the community, I would go post this. In fact, I even might do that once I've done a very quick visual design of it. So you kind of, it's a good idea to get as much feedback as early as possible. This is good enough to get feedback. In fact, I could have made it a bit worse and it's still good enough to get feedback because I could sink another few hours into this or get someone else's perspective and instantly realize where I need to focus. So do I want to take the risk? It's not really a risk at all, especially in the community. No one's going to chastise you for having a bad resume or a good resume or a half completed or a shitty resume. We all think our resume is shitty. No one's going to kind of get up here for that, so to speak. So if I can get that feedback now, it's going to save me so much time later on. Sorry, carry on, Paulina.
So would you advise to put this resume on the community? Because of course,
Yes.
I do have my resume, and this is like probably the 3rd version, but I am already kind of using it in
Why not both? So you can keep using it and get feedback. You can change it, and then for the ones you submit in the future, maybe it's a little better. That's going to be the approach there. I am very strongly of the opinion that our resumes are pretty much a product, and treating it like a real design product in prototyping, usability testing, iterative design. It's exactly the same thing when we take that lens. So if you ever do struggle on what do I do with my product, my resume, my portfolio, try and take a step back and think, I have a product that has these issues. If I was looking at someone else's product, what would I do? Would I go and take it out for testing? Would I do some iterative versions of it just to get some options? So if you ever do feel stuck, I recommend that. Cool.
So where do you recommend to put it? Just is
There's
there
a channel called Get Feedback.
Okay.
If you post it there, I'll do a video response, and Tawfik's actually been really on point giving feedback recently. So thank you, Tawfik, for giving people feedback on their portfolios and also welcoming people so much. That's been noticed. So we really appreciate your time and your effort there, Tawfik. So yeah, put it there and we will give feedback. You can post your resume multiple times if you want. You can post your portfolio, your slide deck. You could post dot points on a slide if that's what you've got. We have had that. So the Get Feedback channel is yours to post whenever. You put it there, you'll get a ton of feedback, and then you can iterate. I've just scheduled an office hours for the end of the year. So we don't have a portfolio gym, but we now have an office hours. So by the time it's the last event of the year, if you have something, you need feedback at some point, come along to that and I'll be there.
Okay, good.
Anna, how are you feeling about your resume? Oop, you're on mute, Anna.
Oh, sorry, I was like talking there. I had done I missed the actual live session, but I know it wasn't like recorded, but I was able to kind of like look through the transcript a little bit on Butter and just kind of like just see kind of how to go about doing this framework that you guys had. And what came out of it was that I need 2 resumes. And so I think that was really kind of a big mental shift, because I think I've always tried to cram it all into one.
Yeah.
But I think it would just be much easier to think of these 2 things as, or the 2 resumes as targeting different roles. One that lends itself more to a lot of the video art direction work that I've done, and then the other one being more like brand design, brand marketing focused. I think that's helped a lot. And so yeah, just kind of also when I think metrics has been something that's been a lot on my mind, because the last few jobs that I've had, like, you know, or like specifically the last job that I had, I wasn't able to get a lot of metrics just because like the main project that we were working on, this main goals that we were working on were kind of like PR issues kind of just like made it really hard to, it kind of ruined our whole entire thing. So I think like trying to find ways to articulate around that very big and public issue, but then trying to like formulate it or in a way for an interview that it sounds like very like, what did you learn? How did you work through it? Like, what are the learning kind of process from that experience, I think will allow me to have more space to articulate those things outside of, you know, if it's in its own resume versus, you know, kind of having that context kind of overshadow the other things with these other types of projects that I haven't had that problem with.
And I think that's why people like that Teal app more. For designers, we kind of have a bit of a visual thing, so sometimes we need to do our own visuals. But the Teal app, what it allows you to do is completely list out every role and every potential outcome, and then you can just toggle on what you want in a resume and not. And so you kind of just be like, turn these on, turn these off, and then you have a resume. Turn these ones on, turn those ones off, and you have another resume. And you can have multiple resumes. For me, I would probably personally, I don't find that very useful because I don't like their templates. I would probably make an extended resume, almost like it's your LinkedIn pretty much. Your LinkedIn kind of has all your roles. I'd put them in one long page and then kind of just like pull from that into maybe 2 or 3 different resumes.
Right.
That's at least the focus that I would do.
That's great.
I have seen some people upload a full length resume, like with all the details, and be like, here's a role, take all of my resume elements and build me a new resume based off that role. only
Nice.
reference the resume that I've fed you, and include no extra information, and it will kind of give you a revamped resume based on that without modifying it. So that can be pretty useful. Especially I like to feed it a job role and then my extended resume and ask it to match the two to see where I fit. That can be sometimes quite useful as well. Yeah.
And you're saying you're feeding not Teal, but ChatGPT?
GPT, yeah.
Okay.
So I normally feed ChatGPT my resume. I'll even feed it the job role. Sometimes you got to be specific with the prompt and be like, build me a new resume based off this resume I fed you. Don't include any extra information and don't like forecast or fake any information. You got to be specific sometimes.
Oh, you have to tell it that. Okay, that's a good tip. Yeah.
I recommend telling it that. I've had it occasionally where it's kind of just made up stuff.
Right.
And I was like, hey, that didn't happen. It's like, oh yeah, sorry about that. We just kind of forecasted it. But we cannot do that if you tell us to. And I'm like, please don't do that.
Yeah, that's great.
I fed it a transcript of Jihoon's song. We had him on for a story, and I fed the transcript for Jihoon because I use it to make our articles. And it came up with a ton of information saying that Jihoon was doing design work in the early 1990s and has been involved with all this. But Jihoon's 35. He was a child in the 1990s. And I was like, I'm glad I read through it, and it's why it can be dangerous to just trust it. Super useful tool, amazing tool. I love it to bits.
It's a baby, yeah.
But it's take it with a grain of salt, so to speak.
Yeah. One last detail question about ChatGPT. Even when you shared your screen there, I saw that you had those different profiles for POCO and Case Study Club. I guess I'm wondering, I was looking through the interface and I was trying to see how you actually got that to show up, or is that
so those are custom GPTs. We have them available in the community. You do have to have a GPT subscription to access them, unfortunately. We are trying to figure out a way around that because it's just built on OpenAI's platform. So within there, they have a thing called GPT stores, which they're still working on. But these are pre-trained models that you can get or create yourself. So the link that we have, if you end up opening that, you can actually access it yourself.
Very cool.
And you'd have it pop up on the side, and it has a few pre-trained prompts. It's also fed off all of our we've fed it all of the Portfolio OS and Case Study Club content. So in theory, you can ask it, for example, to walk you through the case study canvas, and it will. Same with any of the canvases, portfolio plan. It'll walk you through that.
Yeah, cool. I didn't realize that the subscription would allow you to I was like, how did you guys end up training the model? That's great. That's awesome. Yeah.
So it's pretty nice. It allowed us to kind of give it custom information and kind of just train it to be a bit better. It's a bit easier to use than the normal GPT-4. It's just pre-primed, really. It's kind of more of what it's about is giving it a personality. So when you do start talking with it, it kind of knows who it's meant to be. That's pretty much what the POCO one's for. And it does a pretty decent job, I think. It's not as good as directly, a direct mentor, but as something to go back and forward and do this pull and push with that we did today. I think it does a decent job.
And the Case Study Club one is also in there. It's POCO, and then you have
that's a different one. So that's something. Okay. What was I doing? That's something I'm trying to train right now.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
So we write a lot of articles. So if we interview anyone, we've just been posting things as a podcast, so you can actually listen to any talk we've done on Spotify. We're trying to train the AI model to write like we prefer, our preferred writing style. So when we feed it transcripts, it will just be able to way better turn that into an article that uses our writing style. So that's what we're trying to train it to at the moment.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. It's doing okay, I think. I still don't know what our writing style is.
Right.
So defining that's a different sort of challenge. Yeah. Any questions from anyone else? Taufik, CJ, Paulina, Anna? Pretty good? Cool. So next steps, I need to make a visual design of this. We have some options here. I'm keen to get into the capabilities deck, which is where I think the meat of this is. I can schedule a second session where we just do the visual design, if you guys would like. For that, I'm really just focusing on white space iterations and simplicity. If people are interested in that, I'm happy to do that. If not, yeah, I've got a +1 from Anna for the visual design. Cool. Well, as long as there's at least one person, we're good. I will schedule a second session. Maybe I'll shift the capabilities deck. I kind of want the capabilities deck for next year. And that's going to be a whole other thing. So I will schedule a second session, which will be the visual design. So that means hopefully we'll have a full resume draft within a total of 3 hours, which is not too bad. Yeah, cool. These